He took command after the last commander was killed in Gaza. Today, he is on an operating table. The head of one of Israel's most elite armored brigades is fighting for his life after a Hezbollah drone struck his position in southern Lebanon. The drones come in swarms now, the nets are running out, and Netanyahu's commanders are bleeding. The Israeli military has said that the commander of the IDF's 401st Armored Brigade, Colonel Meir Biderman, was seriously wounded after an explosive Hezbollah drone struck Israeli forces operating in southern Lebanon on May 20th. According to the IDF statement, a reserve lieutenant colonel serving with the 162nd Division was also moderately wounded, while another reservist sustained light injuries. All were evacuated for medical treatment, and their families were notified. Israeli media outlet Ynet reported that Biderman suffered a serious head injury in the drone attack. According to reports, the commander of the 401st Brigade underwent brain surgery and is still under anaesthesia. The military announced that Colonel Biderman's duties will temporarily be filled by Colonel Reserves H, who currently serves as the brigade's chief of staff. The incident highlights the growing threat posed by Hezbollah's first-person view drones, which Israeli troops say are now a near-daily battlefield danger along the Lebanon front. Biderman assumed command of the 401st Brigade in October 2024 after his predecessor, Colonel Ehsan Daksa, was killed during fighting in northern Gaza. Earlier in July 2025, in an interview with Ynet, Biderman recalled the moment he learned of Daksa's death during combat operations in Jabalia.
I stood up and went to the division commander, Itzik Cohen. During the drive, the bitter news came. The brigade commander, Colonel Ehsan Daksa, had been killed. We got out of the vehicles, the division commander patted me on the shoulder and said, "You're now the 401st Brigade commander, good luck."
Israeli troops operating near the so-called Yellow Line ceasefire boundary in southern Lebanon have reportedly adapted their tactics due to the increasing drone threat. According to Ynet, forces now reduce movement during daylight hours and conduct many operations at night to avoid detection by Hezbollah FPV drones. Troops are also moving between abandoned homes, deploying camouflage and anti-drone nets, and carrying out deception operations aimed at misleading Hezbollah surveillance. However, Israeli military sources acknowledged shortages in protective equipment.
A brigade operating in a sector needs about 15,000 square meters of nets for infantry forces, armored combat vehicles, and protection of hotspots. About 120,000 meters have been distributed so far, but much more is needed.
The report added that some soldiers and families have resorted to private fundraising efforts to buy anti-drone protection systems, while battalion-level officials have reportedly used personal credit cards to secure equipment for exposed positions. Israeli military officials said Hezbollah has improved its drone tactics in recent days, including launching multiple FPV drones simultaneously and attempting to fly them directly into troop positions. The IDF said investigations are also ongoing into several incidents captured in Hezbollah propaganda footage showing successful drone strikes on Israeli military positions in southern Lebanon. He had a wedding date set, a fiancée waiting a month to go. The Israeli military announced on May 16th that Captain Maoz Israel Rekanati, a 24-year-old platoon commander in the Golani Brigade's 12th Battalion, was killed during combat operations in southern Lebanon. According to Israeli media reports, Rekanati was killed in a Hezbollah explosive drone attack targeting Israeli troops operating near the Litani River. He had been due to marry his fiancée, Rani, in just over a month. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu described him as a heroic fighter who led his soldiers courageously in battle.
The entire people of Israel bows its head in mourning for the fall of Captain Maoz Israel Rekanati, platoon commander in the 12th Battalion of Golani, who fell in battle in southern Lebanon. My wife and I extend our deepest condolences from the bottom of our hearts to the family of Maoz, a heroic warrior who led his soldiers with courage against our enemies. Maoz was due to marry in about a month to the love of his life, Ronnie, and we all embrace her and his loved ones in this difficult hour. May his memory be blessed and eternally cherished in our hearts.
Rekanati became the latest Israeli soldier killed despite the recently extended ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah. Israeli officials say he was the 7th soldier killed in southern Lebanon since the ceasefire began, and the 20th since fighting escalated during the broader regional confrontation linked to Iran. At the same time, Hezbollah claimed it had launched at least 19 military operations against Israeli forces over a 24-hour period. The Lebanese group said the attacks included explosive drones, artillery fire, and roadside bombs targeting Israeli troops, command sites, and military equipment across southern Lebanon.
The operations included heavy and consecutive military operations, targeting Israeli positions and military assets.
The Israeli military said it intercepted several Hezbollah drones and responded with major airstrikes against roughly 100 Hezbollah-linked targets over the weekend, including surveillance sites, weapons depots, and operational infrastructure. Lebanese state media reported Israeli strikes hitting dozens of villages across southern Lebanon, triggering fresh civilian displacement towards Sidon and Beirut. Lebanese authorities say nearly 3,000 people have been killed since hostilities resumed in March. The US has announced a 45-day ceasefire extension, following a third round of talks between Israeli and Lebanese envoys in Washington. Hezbollah has repeatedly rejected the negotiations and says its weapons are not subject to any agreement. For now, diplomacy survives on paper, but on the ground, the fighting is still very much alive. A young Israeli soldier is dead, killed in the hills of southern Lebanon by a Hezbollah mortar shell, as fighting along the border shows no sign of slowing. The IDF announced on May 15th that Staff Sergeant Negev Dagan, 20 years old, a combat soldier in the Golani Brigade's 12th Battalion, was killed the previous night in the Litani area of southern Lebanon. He was from Dekel, a farming community near the Gaza border. According to the Israeli media, medics worked to save him after he was struck, but his death was confirmed shortly after. Dagan is among a growing number of Israeli soldiers killed since major fighting with Hezbollah resumed in March, with dozens more wounded in what has become a grinding near-daily exchange across the border. Hezbollah pressed on through the night. In statements issued in the early hours of May 15th, the group announced a string of operations across southern Lebanon, targeting Israeli troops, armored vehicles, and military positions. Fighters detonated explosive devices near Al-Taiba, forcing Israeli soldiers to retreat under fire while military helicopters moved in to evacuate the wounded. 2 D-9 bulldozers were destroyed in a separate strike near Hadatha. A Merkava tank advancing toward a targeted force was hit directly by a guided missile. Then came the drone footage.
The operations were carried out in defense of Lebanon and its people, in response to continued Israeli attacks on southern Lebanese villages and repeated ceasefire violations.
Video from the southern Lebanese border shows the moment a Hezbollah drone strikes an Israeli troop transport vehicle, a scene that has grown increasingly common as the group expands its aerial campaign against Israeli forces. The group has deployed FPV drones, guided missiles, and mortar fire with mounting regularity against Israeli military positions across the south. The IDF is now building cover. Soldiers across southern Lebanon have begun erecting large nets around their positions in a bid to intercept incoming drones before they reach their targets. The military confirmed it received 158,000 square meters of protective netting sourced specifically to counter the growing FPV drone threat. It is a telling image, one of the region's most formidable armies sheltering under nets, trying to stay one step ahead of what is coming from above. Will it stop the Hezbollah drones? Only time will tell.